Hi, everybody. My next guest is going to be Alex Hamilton.
Yeah,
I'm not used to that name. I know by
I
Alex
know.
Arsky. Oh, she's married for a year now, right?
Yeah. Well, happier, just
Half
over
a
half.
year. That's right. That's just a half a
Feels
year.
it.
You're just
I
doing it
know.
still. I know Alex for over like 12 years probably, and the greatest moment I think we had together was the time when we did Rent. I
Yeah.
think that was extremely wonderful, and it's going to be our
Well,
10-year anniversary. Alex is extremely talented. She's done a lot of theater, and she's been very, very active. And right now, you've got a project going on. We'll talk about that as well as we go through that. And I'm just going to go through introducing to you and welcome you to this. Thank you so much for doing this for me.
and thank you for asking me. I'm happy to be chatting and catching up a wee bit.
Yeah, it's kind of a selfish reasons. I kind of like this. I get to spend about half an hour with people I care about.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice. So, Alex, tell me what's been like for you before the pandemics. Tell me about that.
Um, I've just been working. We moved to a new town. I'm in Northern Ireland. um, and yeah, I've just been working. I just got cast in a play with a theater company in Belfast, and that was really exciting because I hadn't really been able to find much theater and stuff to get involved in. It's been put on hold, obviously, with everything going on, but it was exciting to get involved in that. Yeah, it was kind of like everything was normal, and Tom, my husband, and I just went to Paris not that long ago, like just before everything kind of got crazy, and you could hear whispers of it kind of start to file in, and it was just bizarre. Like when we were there, their restaurants were so like we're all quiet and everything, which we liked because it was very like personal and we got to go around, but it was very quiet. And I think it was just because people had already been preempting that. And then it was literally just when we got home, was kind of within a week of us getting home, we were both taken off work because our jobs had to close or scale down. And so yeah, it's just bizarre. Like,
In Ireland, how is it going for like how are they handling the pandemic?
I think, honestly, I think Ireland's doing a pretty good job. They were pretty quick in closing schools down. And then once that happened, the businesses kind of all filtered down, and only standard amount of staff are working where they need to be. Um, yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. I'm not sure how we are on the death front. I think because we're kind of in the UK numbers as well, so
Oh,
I don't
right.
think we have as many. But they've done things like they've assigned certain hospitals to the coronavirus and certain ones for like maternity and other things like that. So I don't know. It's been good. We just stay in our house.
I know.
I don't
I
know.
know. And for that reason, what have you been doing to keep yourself busy and occupied?
um, I mean, I'm lucky enough that my husband is also musical, so we've been singing every now and then when we can, and we're starting to try and write some songs and music together, which is great because we've never done that before.
That's awesome.
Um, I have been writing a lot more and baking a lot more and watching a lot more theater because a lot of theaters have put incredible productions online for you to watch. So like National Theatre does a weekly one, and which I would have watched anyway in the cinema. So it's been good to have time to get to watch that. And yeah, just trying to like fling myself into art and stay artistic and stay motivated because that's what you love to do anyway.
Yeah, I was
So
just talking about that. I was just saying how sometimes it's really, really hard for a person who's artistic to stay still and just
yeah,
to be. But part of the whole process is to be for a little while too, like just to stay
yeah,
still for a moment and then rethink everything out, right? And
yeah,
then start figuring out projects to do. Now, I know you have a project on the go. Tell me about that.
yeah. So brilliant Thomas McDonald, who we both have worked with and love, was speaking to me once this kind of all kicked off about the idea of doing plays over Zoom and things like that. And obviously, I was like, yes, get me involved, anything, especially me being all the way over here. It's a chance for me to get involved with people that I haven't worked with in years. And yeah, so I am curating the second play that we're doing, which is my favorite play of all time, Tom Stoppard's Arcadia. And we're just we just get to read through that. We're having our first real rehearsal tonight, so we get to see how it's going to go, but I think it's going to be great. And it is exactly just, I'm not sure if anybody saw the Ernest production
I
that was
did.
on
Loved it.
last weekend. It's so good, but it's just all of us sitting in our individual rooms, talking over Zoom and being in character and acting, and it's amazing.
Well, I just got casted as Clary in Steel Magnolias.
Oh, you're gonna be so good.
I'm
Oh,
so excited. I can't wait to start my Southern
yeah.
drawl.
Oh,
One of my favorites of all times is Steel Magnolias. So I'm
mhm.
so excited that I get to be part of it and then to work with actors that I always wanted to work with.
Exactly.
Like
The
that's
thing,
the
yeah.
best thing ever. So, like always, there's a silver lining in everything, don't you find?
Yes.
And I think that's the best way of looking at it. Sometimes these things are considered hidden blessings that we have to discover ourselves, right? And
Absolutely.
what do you think? Have you found any growth through this time frame?
Well, kind of what you're saying. It's funny how it takes something like this to solve issues that you were already having, which for me, I hadn't done theater in a long time. I was really missing that and missing being creative and getting together with my friends who are creative, who I've worked with for years and years. And it took this for us to be like, wait, we could still do plays like over, FaceTime or Zoom or whatever. Like we can still be doing that, and to give us like just that push. So I've been finding myself growing a lot more in patience, obviously, because heaven knows when this is going to be over. But also just in resilience as well, and finding ways around something that seems and it's so easy to get sucked into being depressed about it and to let it all kind of get into your mind. And I know we've talked, but there's been so many people who've just, you get to a point where you have to turn the news off and you have to just say, you know what, that's enough, and not to be ignorant in any way, but to save your own sanity, because it is so easy. You can feel so helpless when you have friends that are on the front line that are working really hard, or people who are sick. There isn't a lot that you can do physically for them. And you also don't want to be one of those people that's encouraging people to stay inside and still be going out and doing things more than once. Yeah, I've been more physically active than I've ever been in my life. I have started running, started doing things like
Good for
that.
you.
That's good.
Good for you. That's my goal for the next little while, is to go out there and get some exercise. The weather's starting to get
Yeah,
better. Today
no,
unfortunately is snowing. Wonderful
oh,
weather for you, like hopefully that's the case. But yeah, like we were just talking about this. We went back to a lot of interviews, and they kind of said the same thing: is that there's times where we have to really acknowledge the resiliency that we have within us, right?
yeah,
And take that as a positive energy that we can move forward with, right? Instead of thinking that it's going to be instead taking all those negative vibes that we can get through it. We could all feel sorry for
yeah,
ourselves during this time, could we not? Right?
absolutely. And then
Yeah.
I think, well, if there's this danger of people saying, "Oh, I just want to go back to normal," but this shown a lot of like the negative sides of what our society was as well. And I think that needs to be something that people stop saying. We want to get back into a place where everybody's safe and healthy, and where this never is going to happen again, or if it does, we know how to deal with it.
Yeah, exactly. And I agree with you there, because there has to be something changed here, because there's a
Yeah,
reason why this happened.
yeah,
There's always these reasons why these happen. And the climate got to break this.
yeah.
All the nature got to break this time. They're looking, wow, they got clean air. We slow down a little bit so that we can prioritize what is important to us in life, right?
Yeah, health and doing the things we love and spending time with our families. And we live in such a time where we have so much at our fingertips. Like, I keep thinking about the wars, the last pandemic. People didn't have this, first of
I
all.
know.
They only had whoever was in the room with them. They didn't have Netflix or Disney Plus like available at the click of the button. They didn't have PS4s. They didn't have phones. Like, we have so much, and yet so many people are like, I'm going crazy. And it's like, no, there's so much that's available. I'm just so glad that I have more than one hobby, because I know people who don't have hobbies, and they just are like, what am I going to do? I'm like, I finally have time to do the things I love. Like,
Do you know what I've noticed is that some people that really haven't developed a really big, solid friend base are having
yeah,
struggles with that, and realizing that, it's not so much about how much they reach out to you, it's how much you reach out to them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it has to go both ways. So even if the person hasn't contacted you for so long, take that effort to contact them. If they're in your
Yeah,
mind, contact them, talk to them,
exactly.
because I think that's important. Then I think then you will see how communities are formed, right? And we keep those communities strong. And so, you
Mhm.
know, there's a lot of people that are probably wanting to be checked on, but just doesn't want to bother anybody, and especially if they're
Yeah,
feeling down, you know.
exactly.
I looked at, like, I was watching, I was listening to some people who are self isolating by themselves. That don't have partners, you
Right.
know,
Yeah.
and having not somebody to talk to directly. This is their lifeline for them
Mhm.
right now,
Mhm.
you know. And I think what I hope for is that we come out being kinder and better people,
Yes.
you know. And that's my wish for everyone to be better at this, you know.
I'm better at connecting and better at asking how people are and having it not be like a taboo thing to ask someone how they're doing. Because you are right, it's highlighting a lot of people who are struggling. And, you know, I have a good friend that just went through a really rough breakup like just before this, and he's really struggling because he's on his own. And so we've all been making sure to check up on him. And there's just, yeah, there's so many things you can do. And once we all are able to be together again and to see each other again, making sure you're actually taking time to ask people how they are and to, you know, give them a hug or, you know, just let them know that they're here and that they're real and that they exist.
Well, one of the things that I think a lot of people talked about too, and I don't know if you feel this way either, because this was an ongoing thread I found with all the interviews I've done so far, is that we have to give ourselves a break, that we don't get productive every day. We have the day where we can, like, take a breath and say we don't have to do anything today because we got the gift
Yeah.
of time. What do you feel about that?
Yeah, 100%. I was, you know, once I found out I was off work, I was like, I'm gonna write a book and I'm gonna like watch all these movies. I'm gonna learn how to like bake bread and how to do all these things. And yeah, of course, I'm still wanting to do that. But you know, I was lucky enough that I read, once again, a good friend of mine wrote this article that was saying, you know, we shouldn't be rushing to be the next big thing or to finish this amazing work because we have so much time. And I found like you rush to do all these things because you suddenly have time and then you're exhausted and then you feel there's almost like a slump that comes after that because you're like, oh, or if you suddenly can't do something, then you feel bad about it and you're like, oh, but then, yeah, Tom and I have both been struggling with that. And then we've both been having to remind each other in terms of like, you
Yeah,
have, you have to
it's
give
like
yourself grace.
it's like you go in these highs and then you drop down to these lows, and you're trying to figure out the balance, right? You figure out how to
Yeah,
make it just a more even keeled, right?
of course.
And I think that has to do with, like, it's almost like a month for myself to be sort of isolated, and I'm a people person, you know that.
Yes,
I
you
love
are.
people,
Yeah.
right? So I got lots of Zoom meetings, all this kind of stuff, and I came up with this idea because I feel like a lot of you, the people especially I deal with on the artistic end of things,
Mhm.
understand the meaning with expression. I think that's the thing we really value, is the freedom of expression.
Yeah.
And that's why I called you all together, because you guys are very good at articulating that, being able to be freer with it, because a lot of people are not, right?
Yeah.
And how, like, I know that you're doing it through acting, and but tell me about your singing and your songwriting. What do you feel, if you're going to be songwriting something about, what would you feel is going to be your main topic about?
I mean, Tom and I, we go to church and we have an incredible church family here in Northern Ireland, and we're blessed to have friends who are really musical and really gifted. And what we've been finding is that a lot of people have been praying songs over us and saying like that's what's going to come from this. And we're both like, oh yeah, yeah. But then the other night, like we just were sitting together and just something came up, and we were like, right, let's actually work on this. So I think a lot of it is just going to be like worship songs, but just any sort of songs of hope and expression and nothing. I mean, it's hard. It's easy to get really like dark and down and to feel this right now. But I think something that's important for me anyway is always remembering like to praise and to sing and to worship even in the especially in the times when you do feel um, dark or low, which I think is something that a lot of people do feel. This is something really traumatic. And I think as much as everyone's, you know, you say, oh, to be positive, and that's important, but we also have to grapple with the fact that we are going and struggling with something that is really scary. People are dying that, you know, you might know, or someone you know, that someone that they know are related to, and that it is happening. It's something that so many people are struggling with, and it can get so easy to just kind of plaster on like a sticker of like, nope, it's gonna, but we have to deal with trauma as it's happening as well, and learn how to heal from it and grow from it. And we are in a really unique position where we're being asked to stay at home and to, you know, watch Netflix and
Exactly. I
enjoy
was going to
all of
say,
that.
I had 2 points there. Like you're talking about, singing and praying. Well, singing is praying twice.
Yeah.
And that's the best part about singing, right? It's praying twice. It's like you say the words, but then you feel the words and you get to
Yeah.
express the words, right? And I think that's always
Absolutely.
important. We were talking about how everyone is together. Like this is not like, there is no discrimination.
No
It is
one's alone.
completely
Yeah.
one of us all together in this kind of thing, which is kind of like wonderful to see, because then when we talk to somebody, and somebody said mentioned this, and actually it was our health minister, it said the next time you walk down the street and you say hi to somebody, it means something now,
Yeah.
because now it's a common bond that we never had before. Like it's something that we're now like, I know what you're going through. I get what you're going through. I kind of understand what you're going through now, and a lot of people don't have that, right? So the whole idea of bringing empathy to the forefront is huge. It's very
Absolutely.
huge, because now we can start to feel beyond ourselves, right? So you're like, what you're doing in music is reaching out and helping people.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's kind of the nicest part of the whole thing, is that, right? It's kind of like that is the most important part, right? So,
Exactly.
yeah. And I think that's kind of why I wanted you guys to come together, because I knew that would be your focus,
Yeah.
And so when this comes into fruition, I hope I'm going to be working my butt off in the next couple of weeks to get this all packaged together. We're going to
Yeah.
come together as a group and discuss that too as well. So that'd be
Oh,
the
amazing.
final chapter in this. That kind of like, it's kind of like stretches my boundary lines too as well. I got to learn something new, and
Yeah.
bring people I care about together, and to talk about stuff that we're all in it with each other, and so it just makes it all much more magical for me. I don't know, like
Yeah.
just like you're going to probably feel this way when you have your first rehearsal. You're going,
You know, I'm very
oh,
nervous.
this is
Excited.
great. It may not be my physical form, but at least I'm getting a feeling, that sense of purpose, a sense of
Yeah.
something, right?
And getting to connect with people that, you know, I haven't gotten to connect with in ages because, you know, life gets busy and it's hard, but the time difference is so awkward. So I'm so excited and so blessed.
I know. And this was such a nice thing too. Thank you so much for taking the time for doing this. And I
Thank
love
you
you
for
so
having
much.
me.
And
Love
I'm
the
so happy
story.
that you're doing well. And give your husband a big hug for me. And
I will.
I wish you all the best. And we'll be talking
You
to you
too,
soon,
Kate.
okay? Love
Yep.
you.
Talk to you soon. Love you. Bye.
Bye.